I'm delighted to say I'm joined by Leash footballer Ross Munnelly. We're at the launch of AIB's All-Ireland 2020 Football Championship. Also there to launch were Kerry's Sean O'Shea, Mayo's Killian O'Connor and Tyrone's Conor McKenna. Ross, just to come to yourself, and I was reading an interview you did with Gordon Manning at the start of the year talking about 18 seasons with Leash at this stage, longest serving outfield player. You're still looking very young, and I'd say you're still in good nick, are you?
I'm doing okay. The main thing is that I'm competitive and contributing, and I think that's the great thing about Gaelic games, whether it be club or county. There's always young talent coming in and driving things on. So it's always a challenge, but it's one that I really enjoy, and it's strange times that we live in now, but the championship itself is going to be different, and it's going to be up to all players to adapt to that as well. So I kind of think all bets are off coming into this championship because it's new terrain for everybody. So let's see who adapts the best.
And do you find that the last couple of years, you're what, about 37 now, that people are trying to retire you every single year, that they're talking about, are you finished up, you finished up?
No, to be honest with you, I live a sheltered life for a lot of it, so I wouldn't really hear much of that if there is. But I think that's the thing. Once a player hits kind of the 30 mark now, the assumption is that maybe they're going to walk away or whatever. So that has never been in my thinking. It's certainly not in my thought process. And as I say, every player knows themselves better. So as I said earlier on, once I can compete and contribute and I'm doing the things that the manager wants me to do, then everything fits well, and it can only benefit the squad and the team. So no, all is good. And as I said, I'm always learning. I learn from coaches every day. I learn from fellow players, and in particularly the younger players, because they're coming in. They're coming in a different mind frame than maybe when I was their age, and it's always fascinating to see how they adapt in the new world that they live in, and so that's interesting. It keeps me on my toes, and it's an exciting challenge every time I go to training or I put on the jersey to go out and play a game.
Because I'd be a similar age profile to yourself, and going into a dressing room these days, there is that age gap. You can't get away from it. Is there anything that you'd find? Like I spoke to Brick Walsh about this last year, and he was talking about one of them helped him set up Snapchat. Is there anything that you find that kind of highlights the age gap, the generation gap?
I think probably from my own perspective, that when I was playing championship games at the start of my inter-county playing days, I wouldn't really have had a phone in the dressing room. I still, 99% of the time going to training, I'd never bring a phone. I like to sort of compartmentalise when I'm coming from work, and that I leave the phone in the car and I switch off. Whereas in a dressing room now, on any given day, you could have guys on the phone just before they go out to play, and I've seen that at international rules as well. Only a couple of years ago, 2014 was my last time to play there, and it evolves. And you see now, even look at professional sports, when cups or championships or whatever it is are finishing now, guys are now bringing mobile phones out onto the podium for their celebrations and the prize giving and so on. So I think probably that the phone is something that is, for me, is always it's that one thing for me that has broken kind of the two generations, because after a match, good or bad, I would rather sit in silence in the dressing room and just reflect for a couple of minutes, whereas that's not everybody's cup of tea anymore or whatever. So, but that doesn't make my thoughts right and somebody else's wrong, or vice versa. It's what people are comfortable with, and I think you see in professional sports now how even mobile phones are part of, even in some cases, sitting on the substitutes bench and so on. So I guess if you're doing your thing when you go out on the pitch, that's what's most important. And again, and I think it's probably the most relevant term for the times we live in now and the upcoming championship. how you adapt is probably crucial to surviving. And it's, as I say, neither is right or wrong, but different.
Yeah, and so like 18 seasons ago, when you became involved around that era, you had different teams winning the Leinster title yourselves. Westmeath, Meath were winning, and obviously Dublin, and Dublin have taken over since. Like, does it seem incredible the dominance that Dublin have had for the last 15 odd seasons now, considering when you came on the scene, more or less anyone could feel they could win it?
Yeah, and Kildare were quite strong back in the early noughties as well, and but it's credit, you've got to credit Dublin. They have had a golden generation of players. They have obviously worked very hard, and they've got a stranglehold of Leinster. And in more recent years, the All Ireland, and they just haven't let go. And it's up to the rest of the counties to try and break that. And it will be broken at some stage. Who knows when? But it's a case where we all have to concentrate and put the spotlight on ourselves and try to get the absolute most out of our own teams, to be able to compete and to put pressure on Dublin. And I think from our perspective this year, having had a couple of disappointing seasons, and we had back-to-back relegations a couple of years ago, followed up by back-to-back promotions. And that's why I think Mike Quirke has done a phenomenal job this year in terms of consolidating our status in Division 2, because that turbulence of going down and then coming back up, it would have been disappointing to go back down to 3 this year. So our goal from the start of the year our league goal was very clear. It was about staying up and putting in some brilliant performances in the league. And I think on the balance of play, we deserved to stay up. We got crucial points against Armagh, Roscommon, 2 teams that were promoted. So I think on a given day, we show that if we knuckle down and that we put in a performance, we can compete against that top tier of teams. And we probably haven't gotten those results early on. We probably didn't think. I think anyone probably thought we would have maybe been going to the last minute against Fermanagh towards the end of October to try and stay up in the league after. But I think we, despite it being a smash and grab at the end, we got our just rewards, and we deserve to stay up in Division 2.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a couple of weeks, or not long after losing to Westmeath as well. So 5th in Division 2 this year. Given the relative success that John Sugu would have had, and then how it ended, that heavy defeat to Cork in Thurles last year, was it important to get the right man in, and as it happens, the 5th Kerry man to manage you at Leash?
That's right. I think as a player, and I'm speaking from my own perspective here, when there's a transition of management, I always like to learn a little bit about the manager who's coming in. And it was very clear from the off that Mike wanted to play good football, and he has an expectation as to how football will be played. And he was very quickly able to get the group to adapt to that style of play. And we worked very hard with it throughout the end of last winter, through January and through the league. So Mike also put together a fantastic management team. There was that little bit of continuity with Owen Kearns staying involved. But then he brought in huge experience. Maurice Brown, who's also a Kerry man, Maurice Horn, who has inter-county experience with a number of counties, Tom Hargroves, his strength and conditioning coach. And then we had more continuity with our logistics, Brian Breen, who's done a phenomenal job through COVID and with the protocols and so on. So it was very obvious from the start of the season we had a really, really, really experienced management team. And that very much helps the transition. And you're coming off the back of 2 years where we had gained a lot of confidence and a lot of young players coming through, and Mike has brought on more young talent as well. So it has been a very positive year thus far for Leash, and credit to him and his backroom team. We've consolidated for next year in the league, and we look forward to now having a cut at the championship, which is, is going to be under lights. It's different, and it's an opportunity to give people at home who at this point in time are, I guess we're all adhering to restrictions as best we can, and some people finding it difficult and so on. And I think the government, along with the GAA, have been, I suppose, adamant about running a championship because they want to give people something to look forward to at the weekends, particularly now with the dark evenings closing in and so on, and with GAA being such a huge part of the community. I know personally I've enjoyed the last couple of weekends where you can maybe look at sport on the TV, whether it be rugby, soccer, GAA. It's there to kind of to give you something to look forward to at the weekend as well. So it, provided everything is remains safe to do so, we look forward to bringing that kind of I guess satisfaction and enjoyment to people at the weekends.
So Mike Quirke, what has he changed this year? Has he changed? I know you said he likes to play attacking football, and when I saw Donny Kingston at the start of the year, he was stepping away. I thought, oh, things could go bad, wrong for him here because Donny's such a talented footballer, and you think, right, is this the real wrong time to come in? But how good has Mike been, and like, did he have to change a whole pile or just continue what John was doing?
Yeah, I suppose to your point there, coming in probably. Leash competing in Division 2, having just been promoted, and with the quality of teams that were in Division 2, probably wasn't the most attractive jobs for a lot of managers because most people fancied us to maybe drop back down to 3. But I think that's testament to Mike and the confidence in himself, but also the confidence that he had in the group. And he was certainly enthusiastic from day one when he came in about what the group could achieve. So I think he was very clear. It's not just about playing good football or attractive football. It's about playing smart football. And he very much likes guys to emphasise the skills and to play in a certain way. And I guess good football can only be played if players themselves focus on the skills that are required to do that. And yes, you go to training and you go through the meetings and you adapt and so on. But ultimately, it's up to every player to bring their skills to a level that is required to play in a specific way. And as I said, the backroom team that Mike brought with him has really enabled us to focus on doing that as players. And to date has been such a professional setup. And Mike he played for Kerry for so long. He's been involved in All-Ireland winning teams, so he knows what it takes. And there's a reassurance in that as well, because he knows after we've put in tough training sessions, that when someone like him is telling you that was a quality workout and that you're ready for the weekend, you really take note of that. And Tom Hargroves, who's a Leash man with a lot of experience in the professional game with strength and conditioning, I suppose, in rugby circles in the UK, he has been a phenomenal addition and an asset to the squad as well. And his experience as well has enabled us to push on in the physical aspects and build on the last couple of years as well. So you've got an accumulation of things, and obviously paramount to that is players' attitude and wanting to do well and wanting to commit and wanting to drive the thing forward. And thankfully we were rewarded for that with our performances in the league.
And one final question. I'm sure you'll be hoping to get championship action this winter, but can you just tell the story of how you got your first ever championship action, or basically your call up to the senior Leash team under Micko?
Yeah, I've probably told it a few times by now, but I think we were after training with the under 21s. It would have been around February, March of 2003, and I was just in the stand in Moore Park. I think I might have been waiting for a lift, and Declan Loughlin and Micko just happened to be passing by the bottom of the stand. I was there on my own as far as I can remember for some reason, and I know Declan from home. He's a neighbour of mine, and he shouted up to say hello or whatever, and then Micko stopped, and he just said, "Are you busy tomorrow?" To which I said, "No, probably not. I'm not doing a whole pile." And he just said, "Well, sure, bring the boots tomorrow and we'll see you in the dressing room at whatever it might have been, 12 o'clock or thereabouts." So I probably went home from the stand that day not really knowing what that meant and what bringing the boots involved or whatever. And the next day I was given a jersey. I didn't think anything of that. I'm pretty sure we might have been doing another session with the under 21s the morning after or something. And I obviously wouldn't have been at that. I would have been at it, but maybe not contributing and just going on to the match after, not knowing what to expect. And then with about 10 minutes to go, I was told to warm up and thrown in, and didn't really think or know anything about it. And I remember receiving a quick free off Aidan Fennelly under the stand and just shooting first time. It hit the post and dropped over. And it was just, when I think back on it now, it was just a whirlwind. I had no expectations going to the game. I had no expectations that I'd be brought in or that I'd even get my first possession or anything like that. It was just a whirlwind, but it was probably his way of doing things in a low-key manner that meant that I was able to get in and get some action. And thankfully, things leapfrogged and went on from there. And I've been playing ever since.
And hopefully you'll get a few scores now over the winter as well. Ross Munnelly, thanks very much for joining me.
Thanks as always. Take care.